It's by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, which normally I wouldn't read poems by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I know Sally gets excited about them, but I was reading a book. Well, the most amazing thing is that when I told Nadia that I was going to read a Longfellow poem, before I could say that I couldn't find the poem, she goes, "That's so interesting, because this morning I was just looking at Longfellow, and I thought to myself, I bet Alex is going to bring a poem by Longfellow today."
Really?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So anyway, the reason why I got this poem is because I've been reading this book called Americans in Paris by a historian named David McCullough. And it just bounces around to all these interesting characters like Samuel Morse, who was a great artist before he invented the telegraph. And James Fenn, all these from the 1830 to 1900 Americans in Paris. So I'm using it as a touchstone to go off into reading about 18th century Americans, 19th century Americans, and 19th century French people, and look back at their history. So Longfellow comes along, they didn't write much about him there, but he was over in Paris, and there's this guy named John Appleton, son of Nathan Appleton, who was a rich merchant and told John, do whatever you want, be an artist, be a writer, don't worry about money. So he didn't. He just met all kinds of people. One of them was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that he met over there. And when Longfellow came back to the United States and was working at Bowdoin University, he took a liking to Fanny Appleton. And he started to court her. But she wasn't interested in him. But he persevered. And after 7 years, he received a note that said, "Henry, I've decided to marry you." Instead of writing the proper note back, he jumped out of his chair, raced out of the house, and went running down the streets of Boston to find her, and rejoice. And they got married, and she was the light of his life. And then one day she was sitting in her sewing room, and a candle fell over on those big fluffy dresses that they had back then and spilled wax, and her dress ignited, and he heard the screams, went running in, grabbed a carpet, threw it on top of her, tried to put the flames out, couldn't, burned himself, 3rd-degree burns. That's why he always wore a beard after that. He was clean shaven until his face was badly scarred. She died, and he was so badly injured he couldn't even go to the funeral. And then he never married again, but he lived quite a while longer and went through bouts of depression and studied a lot and wrote a lot of interesting things. One of which was this poem, which he wrote 18 years later. He never wrote about her until this poem, 18 years later, called Cross of Snow. In the long, sleepless watches of the night, a gentle face, the face of one long dead, looks at me from the wall, where round its head the night lamp casts a halo of pale light. Never through martyrdom of fire was led to my writing here, I copied off the phone. Never through martyrdom of fire was led to its repose, nor can in books be found the legend of a life more benedict. There is a mountain in the distant west that, sun-defined in its deep ravines, displays a cross of snow upon its side. Such is the cross I wear upon my breast. These 18 years, through all the changing scenes and seasons, changeless since the day she died. So I just thought that gave me a little more insight into Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I read that on Wikipedia, and I was just crying when I read that story. So that's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Actually, when I went back and read his poems, I thought, everybody puts him down and stuff, but I thought, I really like these. I didn't read the ones that everybody reads, Evangeline, Hiawatha, but shorter poems and different kinds of things. I thought, worthwhile reading. So, then I picked out 2 of my own to read. One is called Fumes, which is like more recent, and where I go up to the little Bernie coffee place, where it's the only place you can go. They have a table or get coffee and sit outside. It's been cold and rainy, but this is about my relationship with that table. This table is like an elephant that can't walk, and I am a bird that cannot fly. So together we sit, indulging our fantasies. Here I can drink a wide river of coffee full of great man-eating catfish, too old to remember their names. Here I can smoke a vast forest of cigarettes, producing quite a flame, and acres of sacred smoke through which I vaguely see you, riding your pack of camels across an ocean of Pinot Noir. Tell me again that memory of you as a little girl plagued by monsters, or that funny idea that flashed through your mind, briefly lighting up the world and turning the fumes red. I sit there at that table and I get visited by imaginary characters. Like yesterday, you know, this is storytelling night too, right? I'm tempted to tell a story about driving to Mount Shasta today, where I was visited by a crowd of disembodied spirits, some of whom assured me that they were ascended masters, and others, and some of them overlapping, assuring me that they had been historical people living on the earth who now were in some other realm. And then I asked how I could stay in touch with them, and I forgot what they told me. But, you know. So anyway, this is a poem I wrote about 7 years ago. And what drew me to it was it has dandelions in it, and I have a lot of dandelions in my yard, which recently have been bursting forth, you know. So now, this is called Running Away from the Thought of Doing. I am running away from the thought of doing. My feet are marching to a different drummer than my mind. I make lists that torture me like old hags waving my underwear in the wind. They are happy hags, happy to see color in my shorts. Patches of yellow, specks of brown. They explore these small continents like conquistadores, conquering native peoples, acting out fantasies born when they used the whip and felt the cold bite of steel about their ankles. They are happy hags, harpies celebrating their certainty. They have discovered the stability of volcanoes overflowing with red heat. They would be fine choices for detergent commercials or advertisements for insecticides. But I follow a different beat. I have joined the growing army of dandelions who strike quickly with yellow and scatter with the sudden gust. I feel comfortable in the sun, lying low amidst the green blades of fortune, plunging my root deep into the frozen earth. I can feel my route pulled toward a destination unmarked on the map. I will send you a flower that you may braid in your flaxen hair, or pin to your tender chest, or clench in your ivory teeth as you dance madly or lie boldly at the base of a marble marker. So thank you. That's my poem about not wanting to do anything until rain breaks and the sun comes out, which now it has for 2 days. So.
Hey, Alex.
Yep.
The title poem from that volume, I bet people here are loving it. They really enjoy it.
The I Am Big Pen? You want me to do that one?
I think most people would enjoy it.
I probably know this one by heart, always did, but in case I miss a line, I'll open it. This is just a play off writing out of a voice other than yourself and thinking about the words iambic pentameter, which as I rolled it through my mind, iambic pentameter, sort of came out as I am Big Pen to meet her. To feel her hand upon my shaft. To spread my ink the first time, every time, across the virgin page. To feel fantasy flowing through my tip, producing sighs of ecstasy. To sense mystery probed in poems taking flight, I can scarce express with what delight. I am Big Pen to meet her. And when my blue fluid spent, I lie dry, discarded on some rubbish heap, do not weep. Far better Big Pen to have been. Oh, do not weep, for I have felt the muse's gentle touch. Far better Big Pen to have been than Cross or Parker, scribbling memos on some bureaucrat's pad. And when at last into the recycler's kiln I'm cast to burn and blister and be no more, and tongues of flame reduce me to a glob, remember, billions more in the Rite Aid store stand prepared, proclaiming to the poets of the world, I am Big Pen to meet her. I think Henry Wadsworth Longfellow would have enjoyed that.